Alright, today we're going to explore some different watercolor techniques. To begin, let's talk about some of the watercolor care. First, hopefully when you return to your table with your watercolor set, somebody prior would have wiped off, cleaned that mixing tray. The cover will be used to help us mix colors. And hopefully the last class did a decent job of cleaning their brush in between using these colors, because we want to try our best to keep these ovals the color that we see here. Now, the first thing to do with watercolor paint is to activate our paints by adding water to them. So I'm going to keep my water cup nearby, and I'm going to just gently scrape some water into those little ovals with the colors I want to use. Now, you in the beginning here can experiment with any colors you want, but when it comes to your sky, you may want to pick either a grouping of warm colors or cool colors. But you're the artist. You can explore and create any kind of colorful sky you would like. But to begin, to practice our first technique called wet on wet painting style, I encourage you to try first with a little practice sheet like this. Now, to do wet on wet painting, you simply need to first make sure that your paints are wet, and then you're going to work with a small area at a time. And I'm going to first dip my brush into water and just simply paint on some water into one section of my sky. You need to do this kind of style of painting very quickly, so I would just do a little bit of water at a time. And then you go to your first color you want, and you simply just kind of touch it to the puddle of water. And what will happen is it will start to expand in that water. Try to clean your brush in between colors, but watch as I go right into that blue and touch it, it will mix right in with those reds on my paper so far. Really, it's kind of a magical experience. Then I can kind of add some purple if I'd like. Now you're the artist too. While this water is kind of wet, you could even blow on it a little bit, tilt your paper to get some of those colors to swirl and mix into each other. But you want to be really careful on your final one, because we don't want any color to go down into our snow. So again, you kind of work in a small area at a time. Put the water down first, clean your brush in between colors, and just kind of touch that water and let it mix into one another. Now, while this is wet, here's a couple other things you can try. I made some kind of homemade little salt shakers. This is just table salt in here. And one side there's some holes. But if you kind of gently sprinkle some salt onto it, you can see those little dots there. If we leave that in the water, as it dries, it should leave some of these white little kind of crystal spots where the salt was. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This is all kind of an experiment. And then another thing we can try is with some saran wrap. We gotta make sure that it's still wet when we put this on. I'll try to make another little spot next to it here. But if you put the saran wrap right on to your colors while this paper is still wet, anywhere inside this saran wrap, it's going to leave these kind of cool looking lines in it, and it's going to end up making it white wherever these little lines are. And together with the salt and kind of the wet on wet painting style, it hopefully will create just kind of a cool little reaction, making this combination of mixed up colors with these weird little white lines and crystals all over it. See what you can do. I hope you enjoy mixing these colors and playing with the watercolor paint. After you've spent some time playing on a practice one, then you're going to continue this same technique on your large background, just making sure to go slow when you get close to that horizon line. When you get your whole sky filled up, just raise your hand, and then we can clean and put away our art supplies. When it comes to cleaning our watercolors, I forgot to mention, if I choose to mix a color, I just simply mix it right here. So imagine if I want to make a light blue, I'm not going to mix it up in this blue. I'm going to just kind of add it on the side here of the mixing tray. Look at that, that's pretty. So now imagine if I were using that to mix colors, when I'm done for cleanup, I do need to take a paper towel, clean this away till I get it all off, clean my brush in that water cup real nice, and then I call this a hand test, where you just test it on your hand and make sure you got rid of all that color. If it shows up colorful, then you need to clean it a little bit more. But if it shows up with all the color gone, then spike its hair up and put the hair sticking back up on the table. With the paint trays, you'll carefully close the lid, and then you just need to simply carry it really flat so these don't drip into each other on your way to the table. All right, have fun. Let's see what we can do.